desire to do great things and the will to work hard to achieve them. Give me an attitude that is firm in the belief that there is nothing in the world that cannot be done better or faster. Give me a person with confidence in himself and the future. Give me these things, and I will give you a race driver. Davey Allison was a race driver, and those words from former GM President Ed Cole are fitting. Yet there are no words that can adequately express the sorrow and the feelings that those of us in auto racing have tonight. All of our thoughts, all of our prayers are with the family and friends of Davey Allison, who died this morning of injury suffered in a helicopter crash yesterday. I'm Bob Jenkins along with Benny Parsons, and we invite you to join us for the next half hour as we pay tribute to Davey. Benny, you're a very close friend of the Allison family. You arrived here in Indianapolis just a few hours ago after spending time with them in Birmingham. Tell me about your past 24 hours.
Yesterday afternoon, I walked into a TV station in Charlotte about 5 o'clock, and as I was walking back to the sports desk, the assignment editor yelled, "Hey, I just got word over the wire that Davey Allison was in a helicopter crash." I didn't think it was that serious, but as the next hour and a half unfolded, we discovered that it was pretty serious. So I jumped on an airplane, I went to Birmingham. I just wanted to be there and do what I could. And I saw Bobby, Judy, all the family, and Robert, Larry. And next morning I got up and found out that Davey had actually died. And I went back to the hospital and spent some time with him and got on the airplane, and here I am.
Well, Dr. Jerry Punch is in Birmingham with details of the tragedy, which also has left veteran driver and Allison family friend Red Farmer in critical but stable condition.
Thank you very much, Bob and Benny. Of course, they were both transported to Caraway Methodist Medical Center. Red Farmer in serious but stable condition, Davey Allison not so lucky. Upon arrival, his diagnosis was multiple fractures involving the clavicle, the fibula, small bone at the ankle, the pelvis, and a contusion of the lung, what's called a pulmonary contusion. His primary injury, though, a closed, diffuse head injury. Diagnosed by computerized brain scan, he spent 45 minutes in the operating room to have an evacuation of a subdural hematoma, a blood clot in the covering of the brain. Placed in neurosurgical intensive care, he remained unresponsive with very poor vital signs and low blood pressure until 11 p.m. last night, when signs began to improve. The family noticed a twitching of the eyelid, some initiation of respiration, breathing on his own, and a withdrawal of one foot to stimulation. Hopes were high. And then at 4 a.m., the bottom fell out. The vital signs deteriorated, and at 7 o'clock this morning, the neurosurgeon said that Davey Allison met all criteria for clinical death.
Mr. Allison, 32 of Hueytown, Alabama, injured in a private helicopter crash yesterday at Talladega Superspeedway. Died this morning at Caraway Methodist Medical Center. He was pronounced dead at 7 a.m. by Dr. Evan Zeiger, Caraway neurosurgeon.
Earlier today, I spoke with close family friend Neil Bonnett at his home in Bessemer, Alabama. Neil, who was here with his son David testing a Busch Grand National car, witnessed the entire incident. With significant difficulty, Neil recants exactly the horrible tragedy.
Jerry, to start with, I really didn't want to talk about it, but as you and I discussed the thing, there's a lot of things been said about this happened and that happened, and I certainly feel like we need to give credibility to what really occurred. And we were up there, my son and I were up there. David was testing his Busch car, and James Finch had Jeff Purvis's car up there. And David had run a little bit, and we'd go in the garage, and we just happened to be in the garage there working, and somebody said, "There's a helicopter coming in." Well, it never crossed my mind. You know, there's the airport right there adjacent to the speedway, and they said it's going to land. And I just looked over at David. We're in the garage. I said, "Probably Davey coming in." And I mean, Jerry, no sooner than I got it out of my mouth, I heard it hit the ground. And you know, the only thing I could do was just round the corner full speed. Well, I go out there, and here's this mass of metal on the ground, and things just destroyed, and the motor's running full speed. The engine's running full power. And I run around there, and I see somebody trying to get out of the bottom of the aircraft, and I couldn't even recognize it. I knew who it was. It was Red Farmer. And so grabbed Red, just pulled him. You know, I'm just telling you, I don't know if it's 2 foot or 10 foot away, whatever. And I said, well, Davey's, you know, I got to get back in here. Biggest mass confusion. I probably did everything wrong. I'd never been that disoriented in any time in my life. And I got back to the helicopter, and I could see Davey had pretty serious injuries, you know, and I probably did the wrong thing. I said, well, Davey, I can't get Davey out of here. I got to get Red a little bit further. So I pulled Red, you know, maybe 10 more yards away and laid him on his back, and I panicked. You know, I didn't know what to do. And Red kept talking to me, and I couldn't understand him. I got my ear down to him, and he said, how's Davey? How's Davey? And it kind of shook me back. I said, I got to go back and try to get Davey out now. Go back over, and the helicopter's still just running full power. And everybody's saying, you know, try to stay back, it's going to blow up. Well, got back in there, and the helpless thing I've ever felt, I couldn't get him out.
Within the millions of fans and friends around the world, Davey Allison's spirit will live forever. But that is just part of the Allison legacy. You see, Father Bobby and the family have agreed to allow Davey's organs to be transplanted, and as we speak, that is taking place. So for a young man who has given so much of himself, his final act is the ultimate gift, the gift of life. Bob?
Thank you, Jerry, and many thanks to Neil Bonnett for giving us a few minutes. The latest condition on Red Farmer is the same. He is critical but stable. The injuries, however, are not life-threatening. This is the latest in a series of tragedies that the Allison family has experienced in the last 5 years. In June of 1988, Bobby suffered serious injuries in a crash at Pocono International Raceway. It ended his NASCAR Winston Cup career, although he has never given up the hope of someday returning there again. Early in '92, Davey was devastated by the death of his grandfather, Pop, the patriarch of the Allison family. Yet the next weekend, he overcame injuries suffered at Bristol and thoughts about his grandfather to win at North Wilkesboro. While leading the points and looking like a strong threat to win the title, Davey experienced the worst crash of his career last July, also at Pocono. His injuries were not serious enough to keep him from competing the next weekend at Talladega and keeping himself in the points race. Then just 3 weeks after that, Davey's younger brother Clifford was killed in a practice crash at Michigan International Speedway. There is perhaps no family who has given as much to racing, yet has suffered so greatly.